The fourth step of the Panchakalakriya is to listen, read, and contemplate on spirituality, or have spiritual learning as part of your daily routine. And trust me, it is not difficult. You may be asking, what do I mean by spirituality? The simple definition of spirituality is to become one with the Spirit. Well, what does spirit mean? If you can think of this universe like a fabric or a piece of cloth, then we are the individual threads within that fabric or cloth, all held by an unseen force of energy. Spirit is then this energy that pervades in all of us, whether animate or inanimate, as all of it is part of this universe. And going further, it means that there is a commonality in all of us and this entire universe. The energy of the individual thread, we call it as the self energy or Atman, and the one that pervades in all of us to make up the fabric of the cloth is referred as the divine, also called Paramatma. When you put a name and form to it, then you call it Ishvara. Depending on the names and forms you put, you arrive at various names of divinity like Krishna, Rama, etc. The love for this divinity is called spirituality. As they say, the highest religion for us is the unselfish love to this divinity. That unselfish and dedicated love can only happen if there is an inquiry into the truth. This truth is also called Vedanta, and the outcome of that is realizing the divine or Paramatma or Ishvara. In a nutshell then, spirituality is about experiencing the individual threads in the overall fabric and the overall fabric itself. You get into this mode of experience through learning, actions and behavior. Panchakalakriya is about getting to experience the individual thread and the overall fabric. Now, many may find it difficult to divide time in the morning for spiritual learning. Your morning time is focused on the first three steps of Abhigamana, Upadana and Ijjhaya. Those three steps should not take time, but still you have a busy life. Bills to pay, family to feed, things to do in your personal, academic and professional life, leaving very little time left in the morning. Having said, if we don't find some time during the day or the evening for a structured learning, then it is real hard to experience spirituality. When you don't experience spirituality, you are constantly in a state of turmoil. Some things may bring you happiness, but that will be short-lived. And again, you're back and brooding on the next concern and the next problem and so on. Structured learning, on the other hand, helps to reinforce and continue on the spiritual journey. Because when you get into a mode of structured learning, then every action of yours will have a spiritual anchor. With spiritual learning, you as an individual thread will always be strengthening and be part of the cloth. When you are without spiritual learning, then you are tearing away from the cloth. Meaning, you will be indecisive, constantly in a state of fear or afraid of decisions or outcomes, and worry becomes your second nature. This spiritual learning is also called sVadhyAya. Swa and Adhyaya meaning self-study. The Gita and the Upanishads prescribe sVadhyAya or spiritual learning as a practice. In chapter 8, verse 8 and in chapter 6, verse 35, there are explicit statements that prescribe the seeker or sadhaka to get into the mode of abhyasa or habitual learning. sVadhyAya is not about sitting for hours in a ritualistic practice. The foundation for sVadhyAya is inquiry. It is the awareness and understanding of divinity. Do you see divinity in the person you interact with? Is there an emotion of hatred in you? Do you discriminate against people based on their identity? Spiritual learning wipes out all these divisions. There will be differences, but not divisions. Differences highlight characteristics for understanding. Righteous characteristics gain acceptance, and unrighteous behavior is not tolerated. Divisions, on the other hand, create us versus them, me against you. Differences are okay, but divisions are a problem in spirituality. Differences make up the fabric of the cloth more pretty with colors, but divisions tear away the cloth. How does spiritual learning occur? Learning occurs through engaging your senses. This is where reading and listening helps. After absorbing knowledge through reading or listening, one has to contemplate. The act of contemplation makes knowledge into wisdom. In spiritual parlance, we call it Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasa, or listening, contemplating, and experiencing. Listening leads to reflection or processing of information. Processing in turn should lead you to contemplation. Then only knowledge translates to experience and wisdom. And of course, when the source of information is the Gita or the Upanishad, then spiritual wisdom absolutely emerges. Set aside 30 minutes a day to listen or read messages of spirituality. Listen and re-listen, read and reread. You may not get it the first time of listening. Listen or read again. Listening to videos on this channel is an example of spiritual knowledge or sVadhyAya. How do you know if a message, a video, a book, a ritual is spiritual in nature? Ask a couple of questions. After listening to the video or the message, are you feeling confident, or is it instilling a fear of dependency? Does the message subtly or indirectly ask you to set aside your intellect or thinking and just go on a blind belief? If you answer yes to any one of them, then you recognize that the message or the book or the video is not spiritual in nature. Meaning, it is not helping you understand your true self or that energy of that thread. Instead, that message or book or video is putting its own color on you. The goal of spiritual wisdom is freedom. The freedom to cross this ocean of pain, pleasure, suffering, and happiness. Spiritual wisdom is anchored in love. In a true sense, love is based on detachment. When there is detachment, there is nothing to lose. Attachment leads to a fear or loss. The above is not a theoretical statement, it is a shift in the mindset. You can make this shift in mindset today. Take some simple examples. I live in a house, I use the house, but I'm not attached to it. I earn and have money in my bank and my wallet. I save and spend, but not attached to it. I drive a car, but I'm not attached to it. I live life to its fullest, but I'm not attached to it, meaning I do not fear death. Those are changes in mindset. What is the best time for spiritual learning? In this practical utilitarian world, learning can occur at any time. You can also turn routine activity to strengthen your spiritual learning. The famous parable often told, when you're washing dishes, one should only wash the dishes. Meaning, make use of even routine activity to develop focus, strengthen your spiritual learning muscle. Get immersed in what you're doing. This way, you're strengthening the cloth. Set aside a few minutes to listen and start adopting the messages in your activities. Spiritual wisdom, as I shared, is through abhyasa or practice. In this abhyasa or practice, one takes the help of a spiritual master. An authentic spiritual master imparts learning with the Gita and the Upanishad as the source. As Krishna says in chapter 4, verse 34, approach a spiritual master to inquire and learn the truth. Adopt an attitude of reverence. An enlightened spiritual master imparts righteous knowledge. The master helps you see beyond names and forms into the cosmic universal person. That is Ishvara or the divine. sVadhyAya or spiritual learning is something that you want to make it as part of your daily practice. It isn't difficult. A small step taken each day to listen to spiritual messages and embed them in your daily practice will make this practice of self-study or sVadhyAya useful. Develop that spiritual wisdom without any delay. Get started. The 4 steps I have covered of Panchakalakriya take you right from the preparation state when you wake up in the morning all the way to the evening, where you can spend your time in spiritual learning by listening to these messages even while driving or any of those routine activities. The final last step is something that you would do when you're about to go to bed, and that would be the 5th step, yoga dhyana. It's a pretty straightforward process that I will cover in my next video. Till then, stay blessed, and I will talk to you soon.